Thanks so much for being here this evening in our endeavor to find out really how we can use technology in order to do business a lot better. And thank all of you for taking the time out tonight to discuss this. So just to start off with, I just want to get an idea of the trends, particularly in your businesses and in different industries that are emerging today. In terms of technology, what are the new things you're noticing that are particularly relevant to your businesses? Vipin, if I can start with you.
The challenge which we have as a manufacturing organization is the ability to support infrastructure. The process industry historically in India and globally is usually located in areas which are so-called backward, and backward meaning you have poor infrastructure, which means telecommunications and physical access is always a challenge. The challenges which we have and which we will be facing is ability to use technologies out of such locations, because at the end of the day, manufacturing can happen only in such locations, as opposed to service sector where the operations are in urban areas with fairly good infrastructure. However, I think with the growth of technology in many of these areas, there are a lot of technologies which we have adopted because it suits us. When you're looking at areas like cloud computing, that's perfect for us, because if I have an infrastructure located in locations where engineers cannot reach, I'd rather have it on a cloud where they can reach. But the flip side is that I need to have good access. So it's actually a balance, but we are getting there.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Batra also at this stage. And I'm sure there's some similarities in really what you're hearing from Mr. Kumar.
Yes, there's some similarity definitely, because I'm also from a manufacturing industry. However, I wanted to just bring out the challenges and issues faced by the small and medium enterprises. In India, the small and medium enterprises have lagged behind in IT implementation and adoption, except for some of the very few, the progressive companies or the larger of these companies, or companies which are into progressive areas which are more up to date, like automotive. Other than that, if you see it, the SMEs in India are very primitive.
Right.
You may not believe it, the people in this room or the panelists may not believe it. They are companies still, SMEs, located in large cities or in industrial areas who don't have an email ID today.
It's hard to imagine actually.
That's what,
in today's day.
That is the situation still. Or if they have an email ID, what I mean to say is, if they have an email ID which is not checked regularly, I consider that as an email ID which is checked regularly, and where you send a message without making a phone call, you'll get a reply to that. So that doesn't happen. So that is one thing. Now, I'd like to, come back to issues as to why this is there later on.
Okay. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's also just get in your thoughts.
I was doing an audit of one of my group companies a few days back, and I saw there are around 200 applications which are being used, small and big applications. Some are CRM, ERP, SAP, some ingrown applications. There is lack of integration of all these applications, which has led to procurement of around 238 servers. So the storage has become a big challenge for us, because if you see, typically even the cloud computing offering that we get, we are evaluating actually cloud computing from the last 2 years. The kind of quotes we get and the kind of security concerns that people in-house have has stopped us to go ahead with the cloud computing. Even if still we want to go to the cloud computing, we are not very sure how the applications will be integrated across different platforms that we have, which is again a big challenge. Plus the mobility of the users to connect from different locations all across the world. That's the biggest challenge for us.
Let me also get in some of your thoughts as well, Mr. Rajan, as to what you're seeing in your industry.
See, in my industry, I come from the tractor industry. Now, in tractor industry, the customer, the dealer, they are primarily based out of very, very urban or not so urban areas, semi-urban areas or rural areas. Now, the key challenge which is here is how do you connect with them? How do you know their problems? How do you understand what is your sale? What is your demand happening? These are the key challenges. But over a period of time, we have taken a lot of steps in this direction, with connectivity also improving, 3G getting launched up, cloud also entering into the picture. We are today in a position to get over some of these challenges, if not all.
Okay. Are you already seeing that? Have you been able to use a technology in some way to perhaps
Absolutely.
make things more efficient?
Absolutely. See, just a year back, we implemented an I2, this one. Now, one key challenge in tractor industry is how do you produce a tractor which the market wants, point in time? Because in tractor industry, there are so many different models, so many different variants. We have more than 300 odd variants. So how do you know what is the demand forecasting? How do you collect the demand forecasting from the model, from the dealer, and from the region? Because this is a very, very seasonal industry. Translate that into a consolidated demand, and then go back to the OEMs to get the parts. Because in tractor industry, getting the right part at the right time is also a very huge challenge. So after implementing this I2, we actually brought in the customer demand so close to us that today our planning cycle is now only 7 days. And we are almost on a GID model as far as the inventory is concerned. And we almost saved close to more than 50 odd crores on this.
Okay, so that's a great example. Let me also bring in Manisha at this point. What are you seeing as well, and what are some current examples that you could perhaps give of how some of these concerns could be addressed and how technology could actually be used in order to make things more efficient and productive?
Well, we've been, from customers that we interact with, we've been seeing varying trends. So if I look at, let's look at an example where I've seen a very interesting use of technology in the area of FMCG. Right, this customer is producing perishable goods all the time, and one of the biggest challenges, and which is maybe 20 to 25% of the business, goes in terms of cost of inefficiencies, in terms of the entire supply chain of getting that good to the customer in time and having it consumed without producing more, and putting it down the supply chain. And one of the unique solutions they used was mobility solutions, and that essentially brought down the waste in the entire cycle on the supply chain in terms of their sales side by close to 50 to 60%. Now that was a very interesting use of technology where mobility intervened. Another trend, and especially where Manu's problem has, I think cloud, and rather than come to cloud, I would say technologies like virtualization, open computing. Frankly, the more we see trends moving towards open computing, which is what is really delivering productivity to customers. So gone are the days where organizations were implementing proprietary technologies for different applications. The problem you have is legacy systems across the evolution of your IT, which lends it very difficult to leverage technologies like cloud to provision services to your users. And that's primarily the proprietary technologies one would have adopted. I think open computing is an answer to most of these problems, which is why you see most cloud models are on open.